Yeah, no, we will get rewarded when we get a family an answer because we didn't have an answer for
Yeah.
7 weeks and it was the worst 7 weeks of our life. On top of losing your daughter, there's nothing worse than not knowing who murdered your daughter.
It's Tuesday, and you're listening to Murder Unscripted.
My name's Ed. For the past 2 decades, I've been producing true crime content for some of your favorite networks like Hulu, Oxygen, and of course, Investigation Discovery.
And I'm Melissa, Ed's bestie and walking, talking true crime database.
We've combined my behind-the-scenes insight with Melissa's morbid curiosity to bring you a podcast that immerses you in the true crime genre like never before.
We highlight victims' cases and bring you exclusive insight from the people who lived through them, with a touch of humor to lighten even the darkest stories.
This is Murder Unscripted.
Dun dun dun!
What is up, crime crew? Welcome to episode 110 of Murder Unscripted, the most authentic true crime podcast on the internet today, and a proud member of the Darkcast Network, which illuminates only the very best in indie podcasting. I'm your host, veteran true crime producer Ed Hydock, along with my bestie, Melissa Julianne Spivey.
That is not my middle name. You made that up.
I honestly have no
You are way
idea
off, sir.
what your middle name is.
It's because I don't tell anyone. I know. I don't think so.
Well, this is a very special day on Murder Unscripted because, as you all know, we have spent June talking about crimes which take place on or around college campuses. And if nothing else, it's taught us that although this is a time when a lot of youngsters have their first taste of freedom, you don't need to be hanging out with the wrong crowd or putting yourself in dangerous situations to become a victim.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the biggest misconceptions people have when they hear true crime stories. You want to believe that the victim did something different than we would have done because then you feel safer.
Right.
But so many of these college cases especially remind us that these were ordinary young people doing ordinary things that you and I probably did when we were in college.
Yep.
I mean, Jean Cleary, who I covered, was asleep in her bed. Yardley Love was in a relationship with someone that she trusted, an upstanding young man.
Mm-hmm.
But these tragedies didn't just happen because someone put themselves in a dangerous situation. They happened because somebody else made a terrible decision.
Ain't that the truth? Well, you guys may know our guest today as the parents of one of the victims in what the media had dubbed the quote-unquote Idaho Four. And it's a case you'll notice that we did not do a deep dive on because there's documentaries, there's podcasts that cover this in depth. It's also one that you guys are all probably familiar with because it's unfortunately one of the most high-profile quote-unquote college murders in recent history. And if we're being honest, I absolutely hate the name the Idaho Four because we're talking about individuals, 4 human beings with 4 individual lives, 4 individual families, friend groups, and most importantly, 4 individual futures. And one of them was Kaylee Jade Goncalves. And because her birthday was just on the 8th, not that long ago, we want to celebrate that. And there's no 2 better people to help us do that than her parents, Steve and Christy Goncalves.
How you doing?
Hello.
Hi.
We're doing well. How are you guys?
Pretty good.
Good. It's good to be here. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Totally. Well, first off, I think the big question is, how was CrimeCon?
CrimeCon was definitely not what we expected in a good way. It was, the group of people that we were surrounded with or that we, involved ourselves with. They were all very compassionate. They were definitely true crime. It was a true crime type family, but, I thought that it was going to be like the exhibition hall. I thought it was going to be like crime scene, go-throughs, things like that. So you went through and it was a crime scene and you picked things apart and you tried to figure things out. I thought it was going to be more on like the gruesome side of things. And it wasn't at all. It was totally different. And people were absolutely amazing to us. I mean, people, not everybody knew us by any means, but a lot of people knew us and recognized us and had nothing but love and words of support for us. So it truly was a great experience for us under the circumstances.
And you guys spoke, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was worried it was going to be like, what is it, Comic-Con, where people go in there and they like pick teams and that kind of stuff. And I wanted nothing to do with anything like that. But I was told, you know what, that actually that you're going to meet, hundreds and hundreds of people, if not thousands of people that are trying to work to make the world a better place and make it safer.
That's a
And
fact.
once I heard that, I was like, all right, I can get behind that.
Can I throw us completely off course and ask about is that a furry friend behind you?
There's a couple of them, yes.
Yeah, we've done interviews where they thought Christy's stomach was growling and it was just the dog snoring.
Yes.
I love that so much.
What kind of dogs?
They're Brussels Griffins, and we have mom, dad, and the baby because
Oh.
the little runt I absolutely fell in love with, and I couldn't separate with them. And I begged him to have them, and he was just like, fine, we can keep them. So we have 3, but they're very small dogs, and they are my
They're a
babies.
family. They roll together.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're
I get
always-
it.
They don't go anywhere without me, so they're right there. They're as close as they can get.
Here's one of them.
Oh,
Hi,
get 'em out, yep.
baby. Oh my god, you're so
Jeez,
cute.
you gotta be kidding me.
Here's a fist. And
So cute.
Look at that baby.
Stop it. We have, you guys probably don't know this, but we are Patreon. Do you know what Patreon is? You may know from having a podcaster
Yeah.
Yeah.
adjacent. So our Patreon program, all of our subscribers, anybody who joins, 20% of everything goes to a company called, or an organization, I should say, called Courthouse Dogs Foundation.
Awesome.
And yeah, these are dogs that, they're facility dogs that are trained to sit with like rape victims and children who have been molested while they tell their story either on the stand or something. They're just therapy dogs, basically. So
Yeah.
we give to that organization.
I don't know if they were there, but something like that was there. A foundation like that was there at CrimeCon with
we came
dogs,
over.
and they were like courtside. They were like courtside dogs.
Yes.
And I mean, I was like, oh, they're dogs.
Yep.
I just love dogs.
Yeah, like
We
the
do
arms
too.
and makes you more relaxed.
Yeah,
Totally.
great. That's
I'm
great.
a firm believer that nothing can fix a problem better than just like hugging your dog. I don't have kids. I have 2 fur babies who are the loves of my life, and I feel so much better when we talk to other dog lovers because if they start barking, I don't have to awkwardly,
You get it.
and hit the mute button
we
and
totally
everything.
And
Yeah.
they might bark, so hopefully they don't.
Totally fine.
It's only if it's like UPS or something rolls up. Yeah, that's when they get all.
Attack mode, yeah. Christy, I see on your finger, did you find your wedding ring?
No, this is just my solitaire, but I wear a band with it, and the band that I wore on top.
Aw.
Yeah.
That sucks. I saw that on socials. I felt so bad.
Yeah, I was like, and I told myself that morning, I was like, gosh, this is getting awfully loose on me. And I kind of did the handshake, and I thought, you should take it off and just put it in your purse. And I was like, it will be fine. An hour later, I was like, it's gone. I told myself to take it off. I didn't. So, but I have had it for over 30 years. So it is kind of, it hit me a little harder after. Like at first, I'm like, oh, well. And then on the plane home, I'm like,
Well, yeah, you were so wrapped up in the excitement of everything.
yeah, I was like,
yeah.
it is what it is. And, and then on the plane, and ever since, I'm like, my ring.
Hopefully you never know. Somebody might turn it in.
I'm still hopeful.
We'll be there next year, so maybe somebody.
Well,
sneaks
people are
into us.
looking out for it. So yeah, it's
Good.
pretty simple.
Good.
Just a gold band. It's a size 4, nothing, really remarkable about it. So
Good.
it'll be fun.
Well, you guys, I want to lead with this, and this was not our intention until last week, because just a few weeks ago, something happened that was devastating that I know you guys felt, and that was that some new details of the autopsy reports were released. And this is the only question I'm going to ask about this. But Steve, last time this happened, you were actually on News Nation and voiced your frustration that strangers saw these before you did. And here we go again, just a few months later. But I know you've been fighting for transparency since day one, but this feels like a different kind of blow because there's a difference between wanting the truth and having it handed to the world before it's handed to you. So if you can just how are you guys feeling?
One of the reasons why something like an autopsy, Idaho itself protects those. My daughter worked on a new bill to further strengthen that. Again, we are not trying to get it out of the courtroom. We're just trying to get it out of the public view because we're afraid that things like this can generate, the interest of a future killer. So yeah, it was terrible. We talked to our lawyer. We wrote letter. You know, he emailed and said, "Hey, you guys got to do a better job of redacting these type of things." I mean, they didn't even redact your medical information, which is just, if we wanted to sue, we could. We could sue these guys because they're terrible at doing their job. He has a very simple job to do, and he just can't do it. He's in retirement mode. But you know, we got time. We want to do things like this. We want to be productive. We want to work to make the system better. And that's what we're trying to focus on. But yeah, it just seems like it's just one hit after another. You know, you think you're getting at 3.5 years, you wouldn't have to deal with this anymore. And we still are.
Yeah. And we have Kaylee's autopsy report, but it's not, I mean, it's something that we have like skimmed through, but that is not something that you just want to dive into, you know, like a little is too much, you know? So it's not like we have just,
these aren't characters in a movie. This is your dog.
Gone line by line.
Read through it.
So, you know, we can't say that we haven't seen it before, but there is a lot, even though we have them, that we haven't. And these YouTubers, these TikTokers, they don't miss anything. So it's all out there.
Well, everything's an opportunity for them to get more attention. And we never got we just learned things about what happened to Kaylee, which is, I mean, Maddie May. And we're just hearing stuff about Maddie May, and we're just like, I can't believe that's true, you know? And again, we wish that we had a source of truth and we had somebody that we could go and ask to make sure what we're hearing is true. But yeah, we're still being shocked by, you know, book releases and things like this. And
yeah. And I wish I could tell you it's going to stop, but I mean, this world, you see it. I mean, you see it at CrimeCon, how feverish people are about this whole genre. It's almost like murder's entertainment for them.
Yeah, and in our court, we're only to 25. They're releasing them in backwards order. So we went from 26, the most relevant, earliest stuff of the plea deal, and then we're working our way backwards. And we're almost done with 25. So we still got all of 24 that hasn't been released, and then 23. Wow. And then we get into 22. So, you know, I implore the Idaho to do a better job. And just, you know, if this was a private and non-government, we'd be done with this. But sometimes you see these type of people that it seems like they don't take their job serious. So that's one reason why we talk to people. We want to bring pressure. We want to bring out the best in people. And, you know, we're just imploring them to just do, you know, get this done, get it done right.
At the resolution of the case, and I say resolution that way because we wanted the death penalty. So the resolution, we asked the prosecutor if we would be, because we didn't do trial. So obviously we were leaving with no information. Just, you know, the little bits of information that we had, you know, we asked for full discovery, and they promised that they would give us full discovery. And we're like, look, we're not going to have to fight you for it, right? We're not going to have to stand in line at the courthouse for it. We're not going to have to file Freedom of Information Acts for it. No. Give us a week, you know, give us some time to redact things, and we will give you full discovery. Well, about a month later, we were like, where's our full discovery? And he said, oh yeah, we're not.
He just lied to us.
We're not giving that. And we're like, you told us face to face in a meeting with our attorney that you would give us full discovery. That way we could have everything. Recorded. So none of this, all this little dropping, you know, dropping here and there is
well, you
new news to us. You know, like we wake up and it's already out there on the internet, and people are texting me saying, Christy, do you know this is out there? And I mean, I'm just like, oh my gosh, no, I didn't.
And so your audience knows, because I don't know how much of them are familiar with the court process and all that. Discovery is basically everything that Thompson was going to take in that courtroom to defend and to go into this case. So we were going to get that. And then it would also have Ann's defense, and then we'd just all have it in one place. And because our case was Idaho, Washington, there was a little bit of Colorado in there, Pennsylvania, we were like, we can't do Freedom of Information Acts and federal. I mean, we'd be doing this forever.
It would take you years, yeah.
It'd take us years. So we said, can you just do the right thing? Of course, they didn't want to tell us no when we had all these cameras right when we're going to the courthouse. No, they lied to our face.
They did.
And then waited, you know, not now we're talking to people, but they played a game, and that's why I'm holding them accountable. And when people think, well, he sure is hard on them, well, it's things like that.
This is our child. You know,
that's it. That's exactly it.
and Maddie as well. And, who's not our child, but we loved her like a child. And it's just so hard to see everybody just blow everything up under a microscope, including our families, our family itself,
I'm sure.
in our private lives. With luckily, there's nothing going on there in our private lives, but oh my goodness, if there were like any arrests or anything like that,
it
would
all comes out. Yep.
It all comes out,
And when it comes out with the help of stuff like AI, all these people can just make some stuff up. And now you don't have a source of truth because Thompson didn't give us the discovery. So we don't know, we don't have anything to compare it to. So we're watching it thinking this might be real. What just came out today might be real. And we don't know for 24, 30, we get a hold of our lawyer and say, hey, can you find out if this is true or not? It's just not a good situation to be in. And if they can do it to us with all this publicity on our case, we know that they're doing it to a lot of other families. So that's why we're trying to put our foot down and try to improve the system.
It sounds exhausting.
It's exhausting.
It is.
It absolutely is. It's completely, totally, at all times. Job. It's salt in the wound, salt in the wound, salt in the wound. Just last night, I read that the medical examiner was going to testify that Kaylee suffered tremendously before she passed away.
Well, we just heard Maddie didn't die right away like they told us. And so we hear these details and that
was the medical examiner, last name Singh, Singh. I think the first name was Vera. I'm not, like I said, you read this stuff and people expect you to be like, oh, don't even tell me you don't remember every single thing you read. No, because it is literally just
people criticize her because she doesn't want to read it. And they're just idiots because we're not reading about characters like they are. They're reading about Kaylee as a person. We're reading her as our daughter. We're reading about Maddie. We can't just, I can't wait to get this doc and read it. We can't do that. We're too involved in this, and it would just destroy us. We couldn't even go to work the next day. So I would implore people to use a little bit of, thought patterns, put yourself in our shoes and realize, there are plenty of docs that we can't read because they're just too personal.
Yeah. So see her, she was going to testify that Kaylee suffered tremendously. And I was just like, because I think I have kind of told ourselves, Steve has kind of told me, people that we have talked to, like professionals have said, look, I assure you that she didn't even know what happened. Like it was fast. It was over, she just didn't even have time to, the adrenaline was going and this and that.
I imagine that gets in the, I don't really know how to put this eloquently, but it gets in the way of healing because you have a version in your head. You've absorbed the truth as you know it. And that's what you're using to kind of build yourselves back up. But then the new stuff comes out and it has to change everything you thought you knew, or maybe things you didn't want to know.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
It's kind of how you've also, dealt with the scab, dealt with the wound. And then when you realize that you were lied to, and you went to bat and you did interviews and now people say you're lying because you're defending something that was told to you. We were first told that they were passed out, that everybody had been heavily drinking. They came back from the bar. They fell asleep in their beds. They were attacked in their beds. And that's what it was, in a very generic form, because they were so scared to tell anybody because the case was so big. They just gave us those details. So when we said it, then people hold us accountable to it and say, well, that's not really what happened.
The story evolved. The truth started coming out more and more that there was a battle here. There was a battle there. There was this, Xana situation. There was, and people were like, why did, the Gonzalez lied to us and said that they were all asleep in their bed. And we didn't even know how many times Kaylee was stabbed until 2 days before sentencing. They had lifted the gag order. And when that gag order was lifted is when we were able to know how many times Kaylee was stabbed and where. Yeah. So we were demanding to know that for our impact statements. We were like, you want us to write impact statements, but was she stabbed once? Was she stabbed twice? And they said 38 times.
So he didn't have to even tell us, but because we had, let's just say, 50 different media outlets. I don't know how many there was, but a lot. he knew I was going to go straight out there and just say, we don't even know. This deal is done in closed doors. So he gave us the bare minimum. He gave us as much as what he was willing to give for a couple hours worth of just telling us what was going on. And that's all we knew. And that's why I've been so hard on him. And that's why I'm hard on a lot of prosecutors. And I've come to find through Crime Com and other things, these prosecutors will stick up for each other. They won't sell each other out and say, oh, well, that wasn't done. I wouldn't do that. They might say that. They might hint that a little bit. But they typically don't want a family like ours to get so involved in a case that we can direct it. They want to direct it. They want to be everything in that case. And we're going to have to write laws because they're not going to do the right thing. They literally, when somebody does the wrong thing like Thompson clearly did, nobody really thinks he did the right thing, but nobody comes forward and actually says it except for, family members. If there was a lot of prosecutors standing up right now and saying that man 100% should be like removed from office, he's an elected official, he should be done, then that'd be one problem. But they don't say that. They'll back him up. So now we'll have to go above their heads and create laws that force the right thing to happen.
Well, they look at it as the plea deal was a win. They feel like they protected us from so much not going to trial, but it's like in reality, it just is all coming out in the slow trickle in the long run. Whereas this trial was supposed to start in August
done a year ago.
to November. And it would have all came out. The battle of the experts would have been like boom, 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 boom.
They just extended our
here's
pain.
everything.
They just extended it because now you get the defense experts. You get all their testimony, and the state's testimony still hasn't even came out. So everybody right now just has all the defense experts testimony with no rebuttal. It's the
opposite of what a courtroom would do.
So everybody just is taking that 100%, but it's like the state stuff is still coming. Whereas in a courtroom setting, it would have been like bam, 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 bam,
It's wild because I feel like this is exactly what you guys were fighting against. You fought so hard so that this didn't happen. Like, do you feel that this fear has come to life despite all of the work you put in?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what another family could do. And that's where I'm at. That's why we go to legislators, because we're like, if we have this many eyes watching and this many people paying attention and they can still do this, and then, like I said, other prosecutors don't call this man out, they defend him, then we have a systemic problem that just has to be poked and prodded and fixed from the outside in. It can't fix itself. So, and I don't take that lightly. I don't want to get into somebody else's business model and tell them that they've got a problem, but
and there's 4 families here, and we respect every one of the families to the, with the utmost. And, it just goes to show that different families deal with things differently. All of us have dealt with it, and none of us are right and none of us are wrong. Some people wanted the plea deal, some people didn't.
But when you say you want a plea deal, but you don't know the details of the other children, and you might not even, like us, didn't even know all the details of your own child.
Your own child, right.
Yeah.
You're not pleading to a deal with enough knowledge to know the totality of what somebody did. And that was done on purpose. That was a strategy. And when I get manipulated, well, I have a problem with that. And then I get vocal.
As you should.
Yeah. So he tried to manipulate us. He thinks he's smarter than all the families. He thought he could play this little divide and conquer. And then at the end, he'd look like he did the best thing for everyone. He was doing it for us. He was trying to keep us from pain. But we've all discussed and we've all learned. And some people were tricked. I believe they were 100% tricked. And here we are a year later, and it would have already been over. If we went to a courtroom, it would have been the fastest, cleanest, and the best way. And now other families, if you're ever put in this situation, know that you might face something similar, and the best bet is to go to court.
I guess the best thing about the plea deal is the years and years of appeals. But, we had talked as a family, and we said, we will give everything. We will be every single court case through the trial. We will be there. We knew there were days at the trial we wouldn't be there. We weren't going to watch pictures of our daughter, her autopsy photos be up there, or any of the other kids.
Yeah.
We weren't going to be there. We'd say, hey, this is happening. We're not going Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, So we didn't plan on being there for every day. And we knew we could also get up and walk out at moments if things got too hard. But we had planned to give that whole entire system 100%. And then we had discussed, we get to it and then the appeals start, we
were done from that point on.
We let the appeals play out. We ignore, as much as you can, but we weren't going to be, killing ourselves to go to every appeal, killing ourselves to stay on top of everything.
It'll ruin your life at that point.
It consumes you. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had planned on.
So we're giving
handed that to God
for our daughter. And then the system is the system.
And then the appeal process, that's how our family looked at it. So, and people say, oh, the appeals process. And we understood. And like I said, we had talked about it as a family. We said, after trial, there'll be appeals and this and that, especially if he gets the death penalty. There's, one at federal level, one at state level, and we're like, tie it off and say, you know what?
Jeff and I prepared us for that. He gave us a really, really good thing.
Yeah,
and that's one thing. Is I should do a better job as when I see the prosecution. Jeff and I and the AG are not a part of that at all. The AG, they were amazing. They did a great job. It was just I try to keep it just to Thompson and Ashley.
Sure,
not as much.
Sure. Well, the intention of this was never to pick at that scab. Because this literally just happened, I felt like I needed to address it with you guys. Yeah. But the whole point of being here is to celebrate Kaylee because it's her birthday month. So, Steve, I'm going to ask you this because I have a daughter and I have a version of her in my head. So I want to know when you close your eyes and you think about Kaylee, what do you think about?
Probably her laughter and how she liked to really like trick you and like get you to believe something. And she'd come into the house like her car just been in an accident or something. She just knew how to have a lot of fun. So her laughter. And then also another side of her was just wanting to hang out and just watch a movie, or when she would come home, she'd want to catch up with her mom on different TV shows and stuff. She was very much a family person. And when something great happened to her, she wanted to come back home and share it. And that's really what I think of her. And I just wish I would have took even more time. I wish I would have took a little bit. Every single time they left, all of our kids, we give hugs and tell them we love them. So we knew that was fine. But, this is a fast world, man, and things were going. She was in college, so she was Zooming. So I just wish I could have spent a little bit more time.
It's one thing you can't get back is time.
There is no rewind button, not even a quick zip.
Kaylee was the middle of 5 kids, and from everything we've heard, she was fiercely independent from a very young age. So where do you think she got that?
I think it was her placement in the family, because Stephen and Olivia were, Olivia was about 4.5, 5 years older. And Autumn, let's see, Kaylee was born in 2001. Autumn was 2005. So Autumn, the next closest one, was 4 years younger. So her and Stephen were the closest, but Stephen was more like with Olivia. Autumn and Aubrey were the littles. So we had the bigs and the littles, and then there was Kaylee. So she was constantly, fighting, obviously, to be with the big kids, because she wasn't a baby, so she was constantly fighting for her place in the family of where she fit.
Had an older cousin.
And she had, older cousins, right. 2 older cousins. And so she walked at a very young age. She talked at a very young age. She wanted to be right there. And we would be going somewhere. And we'd be like, Stephen, Olivia, you guys get your shoes on. And here she is, just this little tiny thing, running, grabbing her shoes and like, about me, trying to put them on backwards and inside out or whatever, and we're like, we're coming, honey, we're coming, we got you. She, about me. That was like, I think that was like her first, sentence was about me. And,
it's Melissa's too.
Yeah. She had FOMO at a very young age. She was not going to be left out ever. And well, she never was. We were never going to leave her at home. But she was just like, how come I'm not getting on yet? How come I'm not getting dressed yet? And we're like, you're coming. We're getting there.
You're in the middle.
You're in the middle. And her brother, because it was a while before Autumn and Aubrey came, but Stephen had a binky. He loved having that binky. And, he'd be sitting on it, chewing on her, whatnot. He's about 3, probably a little old for a binky. And she would run up and she would snatch that binky out of his mouth. And she never wanted anything to do with one. Never.
Unless it was his.
Unless it was his, right? That's not the point. Yeah.
And he would get up and he'd say, Kaylee, and he would chase her down. And she would
with her.
Toss it. Or she would run in the bathroom and throw it in the toilet. Literally at this little time, like a year and a half, 2 years old. And he'd be like, Kaylee, this is mine. And he would pull it out and he'd say, this is mine, Kaylee. No. It was just so cute.
Didn't respect his face.
And if it was laying on the table, just happened to lay on the table, she would take it and she'd be like,
toss it across the room.
She would stick it down her shirt and her jammies or something. And we were like, we saw you.
So when people say, why would they call her K-Bug or why would they say her brat? Well, because she's our kid and that's how our family worked. And if you don't understand it, that's fine, man. You're not part of our crew. You're not in the center circle. So yeah,
I just thought calling her a little brat was a little bit better than calling her a shithead. I mean, I'm not saying that that's how she was.
I know what you mean.
Our family works, man.
But
you're being an ass. You're going to be called an ass.
She was she was a little turd. She would
smack him in the back of the head while he's playing video games and just run off and get behind us.
Yeah, and then and think it was just the funniest thing. She would take the remote. Back then we had the cordless the cordless phones. Those were fancy, and you had the cordless phones. They're always gone, and you're like, Kaylee, where's the phone? And again, she had a thing with throwing things in the toilet. You go, and there would be a phone in the toilet, there would be a Walkman in the toilet, and you'd be like, Kaylee, that is
oh my God,
Olivia's brand new little Walkman that we just bought her or something, or a little CD player or something in the toilet.
Speaking of things she did that she wanted to do at a young age, I heard she got her permit pretty early.
Yes.
Her learner's permit.
Yes, she did. She was on it. She was already signed up, and she was just like, I need the check. And I'm like, well, we need to sign. She's like, oh, no. Like, I start tomorrow. I need the check. Wow. And I'm like, well, who signed those papers? She would be like, and I'm like, you did, huh? She's like, I just need the check, Mom. I just need the check. And I'm like,
it's a formality.
And even all the way up to college. I mean, she'd already graduated, She had already graduated. She was doing finals, but she had 90 plus. So she got a 0. She still would have
She was good,
wow.
So she was a year ahead. And even Bree, her younger sister, they're the closest to each other. And she's just got done with her freshman year, but they tell her she's a junior already with her credits, with her.
Wow.
She did the early enrollment. So they both were. It's a competitive family. When you have 5 kids and you have a dynamic that we have, where I always tried to make the kids love and respect each other. Like Stephen knew he could never put his hands on a sister, but he could definitely stand his ground and be a kid.
Yeah.
So he would be like, "This is mine." He would shake his hand like, "Oh," like, I understand, this is mine.
You got her up against the wall a couple times.
We'd have to separate them.
Kaylee, and you'd push her up against the wall and be like, Mom, Dad. And we'd be like, let her go.
I was an only child. I didn't have these problems.
She would be laughing the whole time, and he would just be infuriated.
Yeah, we have people over, like friends that I've known my whole lives, and they would just sit here and laugh for hours. And they're like, "Dude, you guys have like a TV show just running."
It's like
around.
watching TV. I was just going to say.
Yeah, it was just, so I love having a big family. That's why I believe Olivia has 4 children. So she grew up and she
wants more. I'm like, good luck, honey.
An adventure.
Yeah.
Understands the value of a family.
She wants more. I'm just like, whoo. And Stephen and his soon-to-be wife, they're like, we want like 10. And I'm like, 10?
Gosh.
Who's watching them? I'm guessing you guys.
We stop at 3 as far as Christmas presents go.
Yeah.
So the first 3 will be presents. No more after that.
We're going to pick our favorites.
So one thing that I first noticed about Kaylee was her smile. And I feel like a lot of people say that, and I don't think I've ever seen a picture where she's not smiling. Steve, you mentioned her laugh. Like, what was her laugh like?
Very spontaneous, very loud, and like I always knew all this back history, so I always say it was a little honoring. But like she's her and Maddie would be going, if somebody fell and tripped, she would be laughing. She'd pick you up, but she was still going to laugh. And then hopefully she had it on camera and then could slow motion it and add a sound effect and make everyone watch it.
There is a video that it's gone viral, and they're walking through a grocery store, Kaylee and Maddie, and Kaylee is hanging on to Maddie like this, and Maddie is acting like she's totally embarrassed, like trying to get her off of her. And she's like, I love you. And Kaylee is just laughing, and I'm like, I could listen to that over and over. Kaylee's laughing and saying, I love you. And Maddie's just like, oh my God, like, get so off of me. She's like trying to like get off of her arm. Like, and she's just like, it's the best video ever. That's one of my favorite.
That's awesome.
That would capture kind of like what she would bring to a room. You know, that's what she was trying to do. That's the one. Do it. She was trying to make memories and do fun things, and she got along with everyone. She
did pull some, funny things. She would try to trick you. She would try to she did it. She did it just recently, like a couple days before she passed away. Her and I went on a walk with the dogs, and I didn't know she was going to do this, but we were meeting with Steve when we were done with the walk. So we came back to the house, let the dogs out, put them home, and picked him up, and we were going to lunch. And she's just like, Dad, you're never going to believe it, but we saw a cougar. We have cougars up here. And I just, started going with it. And he's like, no way. And I'm like, yeah, no, there was, and it was a mama. She had babies. So I kind of screwed it up. And he said, babies. He's like, it's kind of a weird time of the year for babies. And I'm like, I know, right? But I mean, I could be like, and she's like, yeah, I took a picture. And he goes, let me see, like that. She pulls out her phone, and she pulls out a picture. It's like a puma or something.
It's like
in the safari. And he sits there and he goes, threw her phone back. He goes, get out of here. Like then she's like, what? He's like, that's a safari. That's like a puma.
Yeah, that's like South Africa. Yeah.
And I said,
easy.
I said, let me see. What did you show him? Like that. And I'm driving. She hands up her phone. I went, oh my God, Kaylee, you totally blew it. I almost screwed it up by saying she had a baby, and he was like, baby, that's a weird, yeah, let me see. And she pulled out this solid, like, black cat. Like this,
oh, my God.
So I'm like, that is not a cougar, Kaylee.
That is hilarious.
Cougar or just big cat in the wild? But I was like, he's like, nice try. But we were like, yeah, we were scared. And we grabbed the dogs up, and we were just kind of walking like, we had them for a minute. We did, even with the baby.
Well,
oh, my God.
These guys have done dangerous stuff in the past, so I wouldn't be that surprised.
I wouldn't put it past them, yeah.
Like calling me like in the middle of Hayden Lake with the boat sinking. It's happened before.
So tell me that story.
Well, we took the boat out for the first time, and we just got it summarized, and we had this downpour of rain before we took it out. And the boat is like jacked up like this in the front
driveway.
So he went and took the drain plug out. We didn't know. It had been summarized, so the drain plug went back in. So as girls go, and Stephen was with us, we let the boat down. We drove the boat to the lake. We get out to the lake.
They sank the boat.
Shake it. We didn't sink it. We open it up, and the boat is taking on water.
Oh my
and I'm like, we're taking on water. Guys, kids, put on your seat. Like, we're taking on water, like bad, So, and then all of a sudden, Stephen says, you think it's the drain plug? I said, no, we just got it summarized. The drain plug.
Yeah, it was summarized.
Stephen dove down, and there's a wake plate because it's a wakeboard boat, and that drain plug was still sitting on the wake plate.
After about a 3-mile drive.
And launching it into the water and driving around for a while. It was still sitting on there, and Stephen went underwater and yeah,
he was nervous. He's like, I had to screw it. I knew if I dropped it, these are like a couple 100 feet. So he's like, I just screwed it in there.
Stephen went down. He's like, give me some goggles. And he was like,
I'm going in.
And we're like, don't drop it, Stephen. If you drop it, I'm going to you're going to drown.
You got one job.
Yeah, you got one job. Otherwise, I lost. Yeah, $60,000 to sink to the bottom of the lake.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Oh my God.
It was his fault actually, because he's like, it was pouring down rain. I didn't want the boat to,
I was
the
working out of town.
the bilge should fill up with water. And I'm like, well, it was summerized. So I was like, the drain plugs in, we're good to go. No, and she did also pull a little stunt with her roommate. So when she moved into the King Road house with Xana and Maddie and Bethany and Dylan, Kaylee, so Maddie knew Bethany and Dylan. Kaylee had not met them yet. So, and Bethany was Maddie's little. So she really knew her, right? And she did know Xana. So they all got to the house that day. Before Maddie got there, she was coming up from Boise, from seeing Jake to start school and stuff like that for the first time in the summer. So Kaylee said, when Maddie pulls up, let's just all start screaming and yelling at each other and acting like,
we don't like each other.
This is Maddie. Oh my God. You know what she said and this and that. So evidently, when Maddie walked in the house, they were all just like, no,
throwing chairs. Yeah.
And I guess Maddie was like, oh my God, no, stop. No. And they're like, oh no. Kaylee's like, I'm leaving. There's no way. And Bethany and Dylan were like, yeah, I'm leaving too. Yeah, no, you don't leave. I'll leave. No, it's okay. I'm leaving, and just did this whole big thing. And Kaylee had to open, and they're like, we're just kidding. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Kaylee, like you're such a little jerk.
But it eases the tension, breaks the ice, and they were great friends, to the very last day. So, that's what you see. That's what you see. I mean, like for them to be comfortable enough to like pretend to be each one of their roommates and kind of like there's like
in that video,
there's a TikTok out there for that. Each one of them played it, and it was funny, but it also like was off their mannerisms. Just goes to show that they truly loved each other and they were comfortable enough to be able to do that.
Yeah, they did a little
solidarity.
TikTok. Yeah, they were like, guess who's who? So Kaylee has the broom and she's like, oh my God, does anybody else clean around here? And she's sweeping and she's And then,
so Xana was worried about cleaning.
Somebody ran up the stairs with her backpack on and was like, can somebody give me a ride? Like, I literally am going to fail my final if I don't get to school on time. And it was like Dylan, Maddie was pretending to be Dylan or something, and they were all pretending to be somebody else.
So funny.
Yeah, it was just, and they had
girls, right?
they just made literally like a week before,
and see inside of their lives. They shared that with the world. And I think that's one reason why the case took off is because people could watch basically 30 minutes worth of video and say, I have a good sense of which one is closest to me or the one that is like my daughter or that one's a lot like my neighbor's friend. So they're relatable. And
it's relatable, right?
Yeah. And that's probably part of the reason why the case kind of went the direction it went.
So can we switch gears for just a second? Can we talk about Kaylee's boyfriend, Jack? They started dating when she was a sophomore in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I hear that there's a story that goes along with them dating.
So Kaylee and Jack and Maddie, they all were hanging out, but Jack had a girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
They were friends with her too, but Kaylee was like, she's not that good of a friend of mine, and I really like Jack. And
I remember meeting Jack in the emergency room.
Well,
really?
We're getting there. So Kaylee and so I think Jack, he hadn't been dating that girl that long, so he started kind of, feeling Kaylee, and Kaylee was feeling him, and then so he had just got a car. So Kaylee, Maddie, and Jack went off campus for lunch, and they got in a car wreck. Somebody T-boned them.
Oh my gosh.
And it wasn't that big of a deal, but an ambulance
they were glass. They were all cut up. They had glass in their eyes, I remember.
That's not a joke. That's,
Yeah. It just, nobody was like seriously hurt. So we get called that the kids are being taken to the emergency room and we need to get down there and this and that. So we go down there to the emergency room. And, Kaylee is in a room. Maddie's in a room. Jack is in the waiting room. So I think Jack was totally fine with his dad. And Jack is just literally like this. And his dad is just like, and we're like, hello, we're the Goncalveses. And he's just like, and Jack literally is just like sitting there and we're like, this is Jack. And I'm like, I go back and Kaylee like hurt her knee or something like that. So that was the first time that we ever met Jack, was in the emergency room with his dad. And then shortly after, they were fine. They were all released that day and everything like that. But Jack and Kaylee eventually wound up dating. But Jack told the story.
Love at first crash.
I think that's
a book title.
Jack told the story that before they were flirting with each other in first period, and Jack would bring in some Pringles or something like that, and he was eating some Pringles, and Kaylee was like, I want some, give me some of those Pringles, and Jack was like, they're all gone, and she's just like, wow, like, you don't even like me, so he goes, so the next day I went and bought Kaylee her own thing of pizza Pringles and gave them to her. And then so during class I turn around and I'm like, give me some of those Pringles, and she goes like this, and that's upside down, it's empty. And he went, seriously? And he went, and he went,
oh my God.
He said he oinked at her, and then it was like, and then she was just like, and then started laughing. And he goes, and from that moment on, I was absolutely in love with Kaylee's laugh. I was like, oh my God, he's telling the story. And I'm like, oh my God, what'd she do? Slap you? You oinked at her? And he goes, no. I started laughing. So that was, and then, they were together, and Jack was part of our family. She was part of his family.
Yeah, we incorporated almost any kid that was hanging out with our kids. We even had one of my son's best friends. They moved in for like 3 months while they were transitioning. Oh, wow. So our family's always been a family that is really got along with our kids and their best friends. So,
Yeah.
That says a lot about you guys. Yeah.
Jack is an amazing person. We have stood by Jack, by his entire family from day one. Yep. We pulled him into our house when everything was happening.
We knew he had nothing to do with
this. We talked to the media straight out, and we're like, we get it. You got to do your investigating. You got to, he was, and technically the ex-boyfriend, they had just broke up and this and that. So we understood, but we've never, and we have nothing still to this day. Matter of fact, Jack just messaged me yesterday on Kaylee's birthday.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome.
And he said, I'm thinking about you today. I'm thinking about Kaylee, and let's get together soon and have a beer.
That's the thing is, when you get a case like this, people want to Hollywoodize it. They want to, and they say, well, there's got to be these bad characters, and this had to happen to them because they were in the drugs or they were into something. No, these kids were all innocent. Nobody was doing any shady things. There was no OnlyFans page, whatever these people want to say. And Jack doesn't have a mean bone in his body. So it was easy for us to know that he had nothing to do with this.
There's just no way. There was just no way. We're like, absolutely not.
One thing I can say is I've spoken to enough detectives in my life that for all the missteps that this department took, I think in any investigation, when a crime like this occurs, they start with the people closest to the victims. That's just a natural first step. Yeah. But that being said, the rampant things that are online and these wild theories that are just so out there, it's I can't even imagine how you guys deal with it.
It hurts my feelings so bad. We are so protective of Jack. At least I am personally, and so does Olivia. So, they talk about my husband, and I hate that too. Or my kids. But I see people say things about Jack and say, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I earn it. I embrace the hate because I've always went after the guy who killed my daughter. So if you believe in him, then I want you to hate me because I'm doing everything and I've done everything in my power to put that guy in a death cell. I wanted the guy removed, and I was never playing to any other way. I was like, he did this. Once I knew he was it, I came at him full guns, and so I've earned that. I've earned those people come. But Jack didn't do anything, and all these other surviving victims have done nothing.
It's horrible.
So it just takes a really shady, bad, flawed character to go after somebody like that when there's no evidence. So, no wonder they're pro burgers because, there's probably something there that they see in themselves.
So ready for it to be done. Can something come out in a a court doc that just all of a sudden all these people say, wow.
Click activity
It
comes
really
out
is
tomorrow.
him.
Oh, well, who knows when this comes out, but the click activity, we got a little heads up that
Yeah.
that's about to come out.
Yeah.
Amazon click.
But even if he orders it and he hand delivers it to his house and then tries to replace it, the murder weapon that
They'll
kills
still
the
think
people,
he's
they'll
innocent.
still.
I think that this could have been caught on film where you clearly see that it is him. And I still think people would say it's fake. He didn't do it.
Oh.
It's AI.
He didn't do it.
It's AI.
Yep. Nope. To me, it looks like Jack. Doesn't look like him to me. It's clearly him. And they'll say, it looks like Jack to me. I mean, it just is a very weird.
His car is going up to the house.
Weird.
He turns his phone off. College students
He
don't
bought
turn
the
their phones off
weapon.
at 2:40 or 2:53 in the morning. It's
And
like
then after the murders, 20 minutes after the murders, he turns it back on.
a little bit later than that. But yeah, he turns it on when he's out of the area. But yeah, it's one of those things you just try to hope and protect the people around you that you've loved, that have been a part of your life for a long time. And, we took a lot of heat for sticking up for Jack, and even
we didn't care. We were like, come at
FBI
us.
and people were like, be careful. But I was like, you know what? I trust in the people that I love and I've surrounded myself with that we would never be around anyone who would do anything like this. And I thought for sure, and I was warned that, hey, this may be a complete outsider. And, that's what it was.
Sure enough.
Somebody could do everything right, but the wrong character comes into your community and everything changes. And it doesn't have anything to do with your neighborhood. It doesn't have anything to do with your security system or your defense classes.
Doesn't matter.
You just went to bed that night and you ended up in a room with somebody with a knife.
We read things online that says, well, maybe if the kids weren't drunk, they could have fought back. Really? First of all, as far as Kaylee goes, she was 0.107. She was barely over the legal limit. Kaylee was not a little girl.
She's allowed to be. She didn't do anything wrong. That's nothing wrong with that. She wasn't driving.
But by any means, she was not stumbling. She was not mumbling. She was carrying herself very well. We saw her walking. We saw her talking. So
she had a professional driver that she brought to,
and
she wasn't driving.
Where Kaylee was in that bed, there's not a whole lot you could do, even with a loaded gun on your side table. When you wake up with a knife, a 7-inch knife being plunged into your chest.
And for these,
what do you do?
These internet troll losers. That room was so small that when you opened the door, you hit the bed that they were both in. You could get around that and get in the bed, but you could touch the other wall. So when they say there was 3 people that did this, I'm like, you couldn't even fit them in there. That's how we knew Kaylee couldn't get out of the room, even when she was sitting up and they were describing her in the corner trying to get out. So we're like, she's trapped. She was trapped in that room. She has to go through the person who opens the door just to get out of the room. So some defense class wasn't going to help. She couldn't get around the person who was stabbing and punching and coming after her. So to think that there was 3 people in there, but this is why you go to court. A court, if we had a real prosecutor, they would have showed that these people wouldn't even fit in this room.
Yeah, they would play it out, and they were, under the covers and Maddie was next to her, and it wasn't like a king size bed, which, it was, I think it was a double. So it's not even, doubles are pretty small. And, they were in there together. Kaylee was against the wall. The headboard was against the wall. Maddie was on her other side. He was just, reaching
he came in and he stood in front of the only way to get out. So,
he came over to the side of the bed actually, and he was stabbing from the side, but then he eventually did come around because Kaylee's wounds were from the front as well. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to say that Kaylee was perfect and she wasn't drunk. Yes, she was definitely, at a 0.107, but that is not like incredibly crazy.
I don't even care. If you want to talk about
again, who cares?
You're a loser.
0.80 is where you would get a DUI. So she was a little over the legal limit. But
we live in a society where somebody can go to bed after you get a taxi driver, you go to bed, and then somebody stabs you to death in the night. Well, it's kind of your fault because, you had beers that night.
You shouldn't have been drinking.
The internet is the most unregulated, ridiculous place. The things that I read are just so out there. The truth doesn't exist. It's like just whatever I want to say, I can say.
You know, the only things I could say about the kids that they did wrong that night was not lock their door. But here's one thing.
The door was broken.
Here's one thing. Well, we've heard that, but I know it sounds so crazy to a lot of outsiders, but it is very, very common to not lock your door in this area. I have friends that are like, oh my God, like we would never, not lock our door. I hear it all the time, but it's very common not to lock your doors here.
Defend them, because let's say you're at a college and you're in a house and you're having a party and you're locking the door every single time, but people are coming and going every 3 or 4 minutes. Well, now somebody in the house is having to stop what they're doing, go into the door, unlock it, lock it. You would do that probably like 50 to 60 times in one party or afternoon, and you'd really just say, stop locking the door. People are coming and going, So that becomes a practice, and it's just a backstory of the community.
I hate that part of it, but I can't, be mad at them or angry with them at it, because there's probably no one they probably do now, but before I would probably guess that 80% of Moscow had their doors unlocked.
There's been no homicide or violent crime since.
So I come from a small town. I went to a university, had 8,000 kids on campus. I mean, it was a safe community. And I feel like you don't act until something happened. Like there was no reason to feel unsafe because nothing's ever happened. So I totally get that. And the last story we did was a story about the girl who, are you guys familiar with the Cleary Act?
Yeah, actually, it's funny you say that, because we're definitely familiar with that. That's part of the Title IX stuff that got incorporated.
Yes. Yeah. But so we kind of did a deep dive in that, because I was just on the campus where Jean Cleary was killed. And one of the things that was happening at the time are students would prop every door of the dorm open. They'd put a little block of wood or something because it was easier. The pizza guy could get in. And that's what ended up being.
All that stuff.
So, and then everything changed. So I feel like until something happens, people's eyes aren't open to what could happen.
Yeah. The Cleary Act is what I've tried to describe to some people as, we need like an OSHA when something like this happens, where we go back and say, okay, there's red flags. This person definitely wasn't unknown. We know that he had been creeping people out all the way back to his high school. And each time he was going through, because he was in a school academic setting, they kind of hid that because we protect our students and we don't want that information getting out for valid good reasons. So we're like, we need an OSHA type thing and the Cleary Act is part of that.
Is there like the single most harmful piece of information that's been out there? Like, is there one thing that you really want to clear up?
I would say it, but I feel like people would just go wild with it. But it really, really, really irritates me, because there's some narrative out there and I have no idea where it came from. But there's this big, huge narrative that Kaylee, she was estranged from the family. She hadn't talked to us in, months and months and months. She hated us. All of us were blocked on all of her social medias. She never lived with us. She actually grew up living with her aunt, which is absolutely not true, or her grandma. And I find that that's really funny that they say her grandma, because her grandma lives with us. That's my mom. And we moved her in 2016 when my dad passed away. So we had my mom move in with us, so she wasn't by herself. So grandma lives here. My sister lives down the street. And as much as she loves my sister, she probably had not even spent the night at her house since her and Maddie were little girls. My sister would do like camping things in the backyard for them. But it really, really bothers me that people say that she hated us. She hated us. She didn't talk to us. She didn't talk to Olivia.
Well, because it gives them a way to hate us and still like her. So, it's a game that these people play. But this is a very close family. We have a massive amount of love. I've even told you guys where we've adopted other families. They lived with us for 4 months while they were moving. There's no drama in our family. I mean,
I've even commented on their stuff and showed text messages that me and Kaylee had that evening, that Saturday evening that we were talking. And I'm like, oh, we didn't talk. I was with her when we bought her Range Rover the day before. She texted me that morning and said, Mom, I think I'm going to go back to Moscow. I screenshotted that and said, she wasn't talking to me.
So there's no truth to it.
There's absolutely no truth to that at all. She had never been estranged from any of us.
So for me, it's when I go and I look back at what he did before he killed our kids. There was a burglary, a suspect coworker that said, "Hey, I think he came into my home. I think he was here. I think he did this." And there was some security that was needed to get them out to the car. I would love for this never to happen. So how do you reverse? I'm an engineer. So you reverse out and say, where were the key moments when this could have been prevented? What father, how can we prevent this from happening to our community ever again? You have to go to these moments. And I think there's some key moments, and I keep going back to those, and I can't let that go. That
were occurring over on Washington side of things, you know,
Okay.
as a student.
It wasn't just random. It was a let-up event.
You know, he was a student. He was also a TA. And, you know, some
there
of the
was
behavior.
other girls that were scared out of their minds that he was going to do something to them. And to think that they were being ignored, and he was doing the exact same crime that he does that night, sneaking into somebody's home, and they just didn't pay attention to that. And then that led to my kid being murdered and killed. That's super difficult to comprehend.
I think that, you know, there's a narrative that, you know, it's okay to be creepy. You could be creepy. Just because you're creepy doesn't mean that you are a murderer. Just because you're creepy doesn't mean that you're a raper. I get that. But when you have people complaining about you being creepy, I think it needs to be addressed.
To your attention.
Yeah.
That's different.
And unfortunately, I worked with many autistic kids. I worked in the school district for many years, and that's what I did. And, you know, so I am familiar with kids on the spectrum and whatnot. And, you know, you can't just, you can't pinpoint those kids and say they're going to do something bad, because they're not. But you can't also protect them and say, oh, you know, he's doing these behaviors that people are complaining about, but it's okay. He has autism. That's why he's doing that. There are some behaviors that I could see them saying, you know, he's tapping his fingers and he has autism, you know, leave him alone. You know, that's fine. But when you are causing disruption
going over and doing this to somebody else,
you know,
then that's
all the time, you need to talk to them, whether they're autistic, whether they're on the spectrum, whether they're being diagnosed with this, or this, you know, there's personal space, and, you know, it has to be addressed, you know? So, and I hate that they want to try to say that he's autistic, because I do know so many autistic kids, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like that's horrible to try to say, you know, he did this because he was autistic or because he was on the spectrum. It's like, you know, every one of those kids that I know
would never do anything.
Yeah, it's definitely, it
was a strategy.
It was a strategy.
We all know what it was.
Yep.
But even to say that he was, you know, there's a line that you can't cross, even if that were the facts, that, you know, he really was. Well, you can't be saying weird things to people you need to have a talking to, you know?
Yeah.
You can't be walking students out to their car because they're scared of you just because you're autistic.
You're going to follow them all the way out there. You got to know a boundary.
Well, one of the things that I see more often than not on your page are people telling you how you should feel. They don't know you from Adam, and they're like, this is what they're thinking. This is what they're feeling. I don't understand it. So not to get you guys fired up, but will you ever find normal again? And have you had little moments amongst all of this circus and the chaos where you can just be a happy family again?
Yes. It is hard, but like you said, like somebody, for example, will say, you don't want justice for your daughter. If you wanted justice for your daughter, you'd be screaming at the top of your lungs, you know, or, you know, over this information that, you know, there was multiple perpetrators and stuff. But yes, I mean,
I think new normal will be us always working towards foundation and helping other families. It's kind of a life changer.
It is a new normal.
Yeah, we won't be Steve fishing with his kids, and if Kaylee was right here and we would be doing her wedding and doing things like that, she was too important for it not to impact us and change the trajectory of our lives. So that will happen. We'll just take all that energy and just put it in a direction that, you know, hopefully makes society safer, at least around here. Me
working on the foundation, I think, is definitely my new normal. It has given me a total purpose, because we are empty nesters now. Aubrey went off to college last August, which was very hard for me.
I'm sure.
You know, and that's when I really dove into doing the foundation with Tracy Bracco. And And
it's rewarding.
I am busy, like, especially since we launched May 1st. I mean, it has just been every day. I mean, we have people reaching out to us constantly. We are doing Zooms. We are vetting people that want to partner with us. We are, talking to labs. We are talking to law enforcement. We are really, trying to make this,
whatever we can.
very important, very real, very, a big, like, we don't want to just be, we want to be a huge foundation that,
we want
everybody
true
knows
crime to actually have true actions. And you need
that. You nailed it.
You gotta have, and we know enough people to do the chain of command, because your actions, people investigate, they do really good jobs of putting and identifying cases that aren't right and to put things together. So let's do that. And then where there's some shortcomings in financial and lab equipment, we can step in there, bridge that gap, and then get those actions into a courtroom and make things happen.
Well, it's a perfect segue, because I wanted to end on that, on the foundation, Kaylee's legacy. It's called Murder Has a Name. And Christy, you've said that name came from the fact that people can name all these serial killers under the sun, but they can't name their victims. And that's a powerful statement and absolutely true. So was there a moment that crystallized this for you?
Yeah. We actually changed our name like twice with our attorneys. We had different names, and we went back and just with different ideas and plans of what the foundation was going to be. So we named it, and we're going to go with this plan. And then we're like, I have an idea, and I don't want you guys to get mad, but they were like, no, I think this is great. I think we should do it. We'll change the name. So we were just spitting out names. We were in a Zoom with board members, and we were just going boom, boom, boom. And Tracy said, Murder Has a Name. And I said,
love it.
I love that. I said, what about Murder Has a Voice? And we all went, let's think about it. And we all came back around to Murder Has a Name. So, and people comment on that, and they say, okay, well, you say Murder Has a Name, but yet you don't name your daughter. Well, it is the Kaylee Goncalves Foundation. Murder Has a Name, because like you said, they are dubbed the Idaho Four. And I get that.
We want to apply this to every family that we do these lab works. And if it solves their case, then Murder Has a Name, and it'll be their kid's name. So
yes.
Absolutely.
Murder Has a Name, and it's Jimmy. Murder Has a Name, and it's Sarah. Murder Has a Name, and it's Mom. However, in our case, Murder Has a Name, and it's Kaylee. So we don't want Kaylee's name to ever be forgotten. I understand the Idaho Four thing. I will never refer to the kids as the Idaho Four. I don't get mad about it, because I understand, but I don't like it,
I don't either.
Because they do have names, and that's how they get forgotten.
Well, and that's why we're here today.
Yeah. And I know of several other cases that have been dubbed, like the Springfield 3, whatnot. They've done it with several others, and you don't know their names.
Especially
I want
when it's
Kaylee.
a mass murderer case. They want to clump it and make a good soundbite. And
you need a salacious headline.
Exactly.
It needs to be easier than saying 4 names. Kaylee Goncalves, Maddie Mogan, Ethan Chapin, Xana Canodal. That's a lot. Yeah. But they deserve their names to be said.
Yeah. And people, they're not the easiest names to say. I will say
they're not.
My last name's tough. People get Xana wrong. So we're very forgiving, and most people are just amazing. That's one thing is, for every bad person we meet probably 100 good ones. And I never would have had so much love and outpouring and kindness every single day we go to our mailbox. There's so much kindness that we would have been exposed to if this didn't happen. So I try to put it in that framework of like something bad happened to us, but it also exposed us to millions of people that have reached out and helped us. Tracy's a friend for life. Her husband, Anthony.
I would give it all away to have Kaylee back. So don't get me wrong. We're not like embellishing all the love.
No.
But it helps,
It's the best medicine you're going to get.
It's the support that our family feels. And I mean, a week doesn't go by that we don't get a card with letters, handwritten 5-page letters. I mean, handwritten, in a card.
So that keeps you going. And that's one reason why we're doing this interview right now. We'll do one tomorrow, and we just keep going because we understand that there's a lot of people out there that didn't have somebody to fight for them like this, because
it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Some families just fade away.
They'll tear you apart.
And we understand that. we didn't know that we were going to get torn apart. Soon after, we were like, oh, we're getting torn apart out here, and we were like, oh, well, is it great?
It's like you get torn apart for being outspoken. It's like they just like hearing themselves in the spotlight and talking. It's like, no, you don't. To get the word out about a foundation, you have to be vocal. You have to be out there. That's the point.
Oh, one thing I would love to clear up really quick, I'll be super quick with this, is that we are making millions of dollars off of interviews. We have never made a penny from a single interview. Not one penny. Not one.
Media doesn't work
not
like
a
that,
documentary.
No.
Not a news outlet. You guys aren't paying us. CrimeCon did not pay us. We are not getting paid for a single. We're just doing it to make money off of our daughter's murder. We have not been paid. And as far as the GoFundMe goes, we made several attempts. We made several notes. Steve did a People magazine article and said, we will give you back your money, because we wound up not going to trial. And that's what it was for, the 3 months of trial. I put it out on our Facebook several times and said, if you want your money back, please get a hold of us. Nobody did. We had 2,000-3,000 comments. She tried to.
It was a scam, but
she tried to scam us. She tried to scam us. She said she donated $4,000 and she needed it back ASAP. I got a hold of GoFundMe and said, absolutely. GoFundMe said, we don't have one single donation that was $4,000. So I said, are you sure about the amount? Give me your date. Give me this and everything.
And they got their whole fraud got alerted, and they're like, nah, this is a fraud.
And then so GoFundMe,
don't give it back.
So one person, and it was actually, they tried to fraud us for $4,000. But,
But that goes to show the beauty of the people.
Not
that are out
one
there.
person. And then the people that bitch and complain, we asked, did you donate? No. So what are you worried about?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Offered to give the money back. We said, if everybody send us your email, the date you did, your name that you donated under, the amount and the date, and we could get that from GoFundMe and confirm it, and we will Venmo you back.
And radio silence, I'm guessing.
Radio silence, but we still get
99% of people are beautiful and good, and
but
that's the truth.
we are rich off of interviews, and that's why we do the interviews, and it's only because we want money.
We do shit because we're working and we're hard working.
I'm sure. Well, and I'll tell you this I can vouch for that. So I have never worked with you guys in a documentary setting. It's more just been on a personal basis and now with this, but like I'm a documentary maker and it is such bad practice to pay for interviews. If you're doing it, that production company shouldn't be. So I can vouch for that 100%.
I mean, not even the Today Show, not even Good Morning America, 48 hours. No.
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
So if that gives somebody reason to hate us, I hate to take
that's
away
why
the
we
reasoning.
do so many. And somebody even commented and said, do you know that they make $10,000 for every interview? They had $1 per interview, $10,000 for every interview. And I'm like,
and in the comments, you can see the person go, oh, I thought they were just doing it for their daughter. And
exactly.
It warps their view of us.
God.
And people are like, oh my gosh, are you serious? Wow, that's
why
disgusting.
she wants to clear it up. I don't even bother clearing it up because there's not that many of them. And
I'm like,
wow,
no, doesn't happen.
Just real quick before we wrap up, we were just mentioning the foundation, but for any listeners who aren't familiar, can you tell us like the basis of it and what its goal is?
So the Kaylee Goncalves Foundation, doing business as Murder Has a Name, is we are going to bridge the gap where funding ends for local law enforcement with DNA testing, advanced DNA testing. And that happens more often than not because once they check CODIS and whatnot, like some states have more money, some jurisdictions have more money. Mm-hmm. You know, it could be in one state, but this one doesn't have any. This one has more. It just depends. And some are just inundated.
If you have hair, that's a different lab process than if you have skin cells. If you have skin cells, that's a different process than blood.
Or IgG.
So we've learned through our case that there's different tests and they cost money. And some people are waiting on justice over money. And we can help.
Yeah, so we just don't want those people, and it gets set on a shelf and becomes a cold case, not because it's unsolvable, just because it doesn't have funding. And we want to pay for those. So any case that we do work with, it comes from law enforcement. We do not choose. So it's not like they give us 3 and say, pick what family you want. We will not be the one choosing it.
We're not breaking the case. We're not taking credit for anything that these officers, they've been working their tails off. They're doing everything.
And the lab will do the work.
Budget.
The private lab that we're only partnered with accredited labs across the United States, and they're the best of the best, and their technology is changing monthly, and they do everything from hair with no follicle to IgG, MVAC. They have the best tools.
So if you have officers, particularly lead investigators that are in your audience, and you have a case that you think that IgG or some kind of lab work could break your case, reach out to our organization, and we'll see. We'll vet it out and see if we can help you guys.
Yeah, so everything will come through law enforcement. So the chain of command is never broken. We don't ever touch the DNA. It's not like that. We're not.
They got contracts with
everything's confidential.
Labs. They're setting this stuff all up as we go with lawyers and all that stuff.
Yeah, we have lawyers. We have great people on our board, and we are teamed up with the best labs that there are out there in America. And we're still teaming up with more. We have Zooms with a few more still, and not a single one has told us they don't want to work with us so far. So we don't anticipate them shutting the door in our face. So we're just glad to have them,
Very
and
good.
to be working with them. But it's so important, and funding shouldn't be, a problem. So with that said, it is expensive. We're not going to be doing like hundreds of these a year. Hopefully maybe one day we will. That would be fantastic.
Set your goals high.
We're starting out slow. We're just growing some legs, and hopefully it will be more and more and more we'll start being able to handle. And that's all we can ask,
I want to go to CrimeCon with a list of people.
List the names.
A list of faces that we captured.
Yes.
And said each list it gets more. And it's because of people that are sitting here glued into these shows, watching, learning, and finding when there's a case that just needs a little bit of help, a little financial help, and we can solve it. Because they're out there, guys. They're out there. And I think it's a purpose and a reason to be here.
And we know who we're talking about when I say he is not the only person out there that's like himself. He's not the only one that's walking the earth. So evil lives amongst us. Very unfortunate.
Some of them haven't been caught yet. They haven't triggered it.
My hope is that we catch one that actually winds up solving several. Like, that guy, he did wind up murdering that, but he's also the robber that did this. He stole this car. He did this, and they're able to solve other crimes too, which happens a lot. So I'm hoping for one like that,
and especially with genetic genealogy. I mean, that science is mind boggling to me, and it's so important and it's so revolutionary that I feel like you're going to keep seeing old guys on TV that have committed crimes 20 years ago because they finally got caught.
IgG is amazing.
We're literally getting to the point where we're hunting killers.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
This technology to hunt them down, and I can't wait. People are gonna learn what IgG and all these different techniques that they can use and realize. And for people that are scared, don't be scared. Just treat everybody like the golden rule says. Treat everyone how you want to be treated, and you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah,
nothing at all. That the whole technique goes and finds people that are related to the criminal. It's not pulling people out of the thin air and pinpointing them and saying that they did anything. So, we'll eventually people will learn how the technology works.
Yeah.
What a great mission. Wow.
Yeah. So that's what we're all about. And nobody on our team takes any salaries. We don't plan on taking salaries. We're not paying for mortgages. We're not paying for cars. Matter of fact, every bit of anything that's gone into it, as far as we printed cards and we printed flyers, has come out of either Tracy's pocket, mostly Tracy's pocket. She always pays for everything, and Anthony, her husband, or us. I mean, everything. The
we're
web
definitely
page,
in the hole.
the web,
I'm sure.
the web page, the emails.
We're not getting rich with this stuff. It's crazy. People think what they think.
It's all been paid for by somebody on the board. I mean, and we're not looking to be reimbursed out of the foundation. It's done. It's over. We want every penny.
No, we'll get rewarded, but it won't be in this lifetime. It'll be in a
right.
Yeah, no, we will get rewarded when we get a family an answer, because we didn't have an answer for 7 weeks, and it was the worst 7 weeks of our life. On top of losing your daughter, there's nothing worse than not knowing who murdered your daughter.
You guys, even if you solve if you help one family, you've done something.
Yeah,
That's what I said.
And it's something
Huge.
forever for Kaylee and Maddie in their name. It would be something that's impactful. And then if everybody could just do that, then you start a momentum where you do go every year to a crime con and the numbers get lower and lower and lower. Let's put the fear into these people's eyes.
Hopefully it starts to deter some criminals because they start thinking, I don't really know what this IgG stuff is all about.
But I'm turning on the TV and people are getting caught left and right.
There's these CCTVs everywhere. And
between cameras alone, I can't believe. That's why I think the serial, and Andy Kahn will agree with me on this, that the age of the serial killer is gone because of all the technology. Like you're not going to see these people get away with it for as long as they used to.
Totally agree.
And we're lucky enough to have Andy on our board. He's an amazing man.
He's awesome.
He's awesome.
So,
He's freaking funny too.
He is.
He's clever, witty, and he's not afraid to
to speak up,
to knuckle up.
I swear, I joke with him. I'm like, Andy, do you ever sleep? Like, I don't think you sleep. Like he is always doing something. So Andy's great, and we got him on our board. We're lucky. We're
amazing.
Lucky.
Guys, that was awesome. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us because from the moment we met, what was it, 8 months ago or so? I don't even remember how we got involved with each other, but we have spent the last almost year learning about Kaylee through the research that we were doing for these bookmarks. When we sat down and talked about her loves and what she liked, and then we threw like 40 ideas at the wall and you're like, that's the one. And once you said that, then it was like off to the races. Now we get a sense of what she is, what you want, and then now how do we bring it to life?
You guys are amazing. And we are so grateful for those bookmarks. They're beautiful. Absolutely.
Good. I'm glad
beautiful.
You like them.
You could tell that there was a lot of work put into them. And with that work is love. Yeah. So we are very grateful for them. Thank you guys so much.
You are so welcome. We will talk to you soon. And again, thank you so much for being here.
Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Okay. See ya. Wow. So if that doesn't show you the damage that unregulated interneting can do, I don't know what does.
Yeah. Think before you post. I know it's not our listeners because they're cool as shit.
No, but things you know nothing about. Like just think about who you're actually commenting on because they see it. Like everybody sees it.
I don't get that. But I will say yet again, I am blown away by the two of them. Steve said it first about how like there's still good people in the world. Yeah. Like, how do you say that?
I guess because of the outpour, like you never want to see it come to fruition this way because obviously they suffered an unimaginable tragedy that I wouldn't wish on anybody. But to see the good that has come out of it, I mean, I think he nailed it when he was talking about how if this law and this foundation can help one other family, or I know they have big dreams of catching every criminal in the world, but even just one, I feel like is going to be monumental.
Totally agreed. And I think I realized that a lot with the Jean Cleary case, like what that actually meant when I realized how much good that one has done. So I'm sure theirs is going to be just as impactful.
Yeah. And I think we talked last week, but working on those bookmarks was such a pleasure. It was so awesome to get to know them and to get to know Kaylee more because you see the documentaries, you read all the things that they read too. So you think you have an idea of that person, but then to really learn about that person from the people who knew her best was something very special that I'm really proud of us.
Well, and maybe to give a little levity, I'm sorry, but I am sitting here cracking up at the thought of her taking everyone's stuff and throwing it in the toilet.
Oh my God, I know. If you're missing something, check the toilet. Wow.
I started like tearing up from laughing. I was like, oh my God, that's hilarious.
I love it. Their family reminds me so much of my family. Like you call people out on their bullshit.
Oh yeah.
We thrive on sarcasm. I feel like if you're not ripping on somebody, are you even friends? Are you even family?
For real. For real.
Wow. So that was a pretty powerful block. I think you guys, hopefully at least we did too, with digging into some of these statistics, learned a lot about crimes that occur on college campuses, ones that occur just off college campuses, and how the people who are affected by this were doing nothing wrong.
Yeah.
If you want more information about the Kaylee Goncalves Foundation, Murder Has a Name, they have an awesome website. It's murderhasaname.com. So definitely check that out. You think about giving. I know that every penny helps their cause.
It's so true.
So what do we got now that June is wrapped up? What do we got for July? Oh, we got something super cool for July, right?
We do. So we're going to just go ahead and reveal it because it's tomorrow, technically.
Yeah, probably a good time to do that.
Well, we're calling this block the Dog Days of Summer.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to be covering cases where a dog was part of the investigation somehow. Whether it was a search and rescue dog, a sniffer dog, a cadaver dog, or maybe even a facility dog. So stay tuned for that. And we have a very cool guest coming to Ed. Am I allowed to share that? Because sometimes you tell me no.
You can. No, this is okay in this case because we have been waiting to feature, we're waiting for the perfect month to feature the organization that we give back to whenever we can, and that's Courthouse Dogs Foundation, which you guys all know. But Dr. Celeste Walden, and she is the executive director of the Courthouse Dogs Foundation, and she's going to basically come on and talk about the nitty gritty of what this organization is, what it does, way more than the 4 or 5 lines that we say every week.
I am so excited. I mean, we have not hidden our love of canines.
We are out of the closet with our love of dogs.
It's true. But you know what, guys? We are always looking for cool block ideas. So if you have any, please send them our way. You can hit us up on our website, www.murderunscriptedpod.com. You can hit us up on any of our socials, basically all of them. Just search for Murder Unscripted. That's Reddit, Facebook, Insta, etc. Or you can shoot us an email at murderunscriptedpod@gmail.com.
That's it.
All right, guys. Well, on that note, we are out of here, but we look forward to spending July with you and our furry friends. So until then, stay safe, stay hydrated, and remember that perverts don't wear signs that say they're perverts.
No, but they may make unhinged comments on the internet. So knock it off. All of you.
Yeah.
You know who you are.
For real.
See ya.
Bye.